Question for you, Andrew. What is one thing you detest about social media right now?
It's all fake. No, it's super rare to find somebody that's genuine and authentic on social media. Everybody just wants to show the most beautiful and glamorous parts of their life, and not even what it took to get those, or even what happens the other 6 days of the week.
Yeah, and there's no like fact checking. Like someone's like, "Oh, I have the best marriage ever." And then you're like, you have no way of knowing any of it. So you either have to be like an extreme of one side, an extreme blind believer in it, or you have to be an extreme skeptic. And I don't think that's healthy for either of us to be in. But what else are we supposed to do? Because we already know that the vast majority of it's a lie. So you have to pick a polar. You have to willfully believe something that you know is likely a lie, or you have to be that jerk who is just like, nah, I ain't buying it.
Yeah. It is funny how it's like that, and I try to be like a healthy medium in between. You know, I think there's certain way. Obviously, sometimes you can tell somebody's all authentic just because it's somebody sharing their losses, or the tough day with you. You know, the quote unquote vulnerable stuff. Which, even that sometimes I don't even feel like it's authentic. I feel like some people just make up these stories because a coach told them to do so or something. But I think what's kind of getting interesting about social media now is you have these live platforms that they capture you in the moment, and then some of them are really good at giving like your followers a chance to actually interact with you live. And so sometimes you can expose somebody that they might not know what they're talking about, or they're presenting themselves to be something they're not, just because the way they have to answer your questions, or interact with you on the spot. So that is one good thing I'm seeing, develop on social media currently.
So that was actually kind of the next question I was going to say, which is what's one thing you like about social media right now?
So I mean, I guess my favorite thing about social media, I mean, that's how we met, right? Is social media, and I love that these type of relationships can happen naturally if you curate yourself social media. I like to say it, right? So like,
Mm.
you hear the guy that's like, don't go on TikTok because all you see are those girls dancing in their bikinis. And it's like, that's an algorithm, homie. So you're obviously watching a lot of videos with girls dancing in their bikinis. When I go on TikTok, I see nothing but crypto videos because I only interact with crypto videos. I only comment on crypto videos. I only watch crypto videos. So the algorithm shows me what I like. And I do similar on Facebook, or my Facebook is more like was more geared towards my business and sales side of things. So I
Yeah.
made the effort to link up with other salespeople and business people that were on their journey, whether they were a mile ahead of me, a couple steps ahead of me, a couple steps behind me, whatever it was. I just wanted to link with everybody and see what we could learn together. And so I think that's the beauty of social media, to where like I can link with you where you're not that far from me. You're like about 5-6 hours from me, but it's not realistic that we get back 20 years ago. We could just have a call like this every week, and
Yeah.
bounce like we'd be paying long distance, and all that good
Yeah.
shit, 10 cents a minute. So
Dang,
it's
that's
awesome
crazy to
how
think
it's
about.
developed. And then like I've been able to watch you grow and develop along the way. So I'm like, all right, this guy's legit. Like he's not like a dude that he showed up out of nowhere, got excited and he paid a bunch of money for ads. Like this is a real person that
I
I've
mean, it
interacted
definitely
with.
was a communication breakthrough, right? Like, for better, for worse. Okay, more people die in car accidents than they probably died in horse accidents. But I don't
Uh,
hear anybody saying we should go back to horses and buggies,
yeah,
because the convenience, the barriers that are removed from the fact that we have cars, from the fact that we have social media, for the most part, as a society, we say, okay, well, yeah, there's a lot of crap about it, but I like it enough, or at the least I want it enough to tolerate the bad sides, right?
yeah.
So
And it's all about how you use your social media too. So
yes.
some people, they just use it for their flat out entertainment. I know grown ass men that make memes, and that this guy's like, well, my goal is to make a viral meme, and I'm shocked the guy's even got goals, but like that's his thing for social media.
That was ruthless. I was trying to listen, man. You have a goal at all? Wow. That's pretty funny. All right, so then let me ask you this. Kind of in a more public figure sense, who is hurting social media the most?
Ooh, so like I have a skewed view of this. It's not going to be your average person, to be honest. So like I guess honestly, it goes across the board for all niches, and applies to everything. Just because I think there's a lot of leeches out there. Like I come from the crypto space, like I see it about 10x in the crypto space because everything's just like it moves faster, and they're it's a amplifier.
Yeah,
But
less
like
regulated. So I mean, it's just wild, wild west, right?
yeah. So like but I see it in other industries. You'll see it in real estate, finance. You'll see it in sales, businesses where these people they brand themselves to be something they're not, and then they sell a false dream and get all these people to buy their programs, whatever it is, and like this guy's never
So
known
the
what he's even
gurus, are you
talking
saying
about.
the fake gurus kind of are
Yeah, the fake
the who
gurus.
are that are doing the most damage?
Yeah, no, I truly believe that's who's doing the most damage. Like people can say what they want about like the Kim Kardashians and this and that, but like they're not really hurting anybody. But like these people are truly hurting people in a lot of
Well, and I
cases.
don't. So that's a good point that you bring in. Who's more deceptive, right? Speaking of Kim Kardashian, because I think this is a fair point for her in her defense. Who's more deceptive? Kim Kardashian, who essentially you can kind of look at and say, you know exactly what you're getting, or the people who use a marketing campaign in conjunction with Kim Kardashian to do something that they know is not going to quite work out the way that they want it to. For instance, yes, Kim Kardashian has a responsibility when it comes to the products and things that but how is she supposed to know everything? I mean, realistically, she only knows the information she's given. You could hire me right now and put a glowing resume. Oh, I'm eco-friendly, fairly traded, blah, 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 blah. Now, unless I'm a detective with an unbelievable amount of time, I'm going to take you at your word, right? So really, in the instance, like when Kim Kardashian was hired to shill out a coin, was that really something that like how was she supposed to become a crypto expert? And how is she supposed to? The people are only mad because guess what? The coin didn't work out the way they wanted to. Nobody was mad when they were buying the coin. And I don't see the same responsibility shift held to the consumer who says maybe you should have turned around and thought about the sources of your information.
So that's actually an interesting point, and and I'm on both sides of the fence of it, right? Because there's the legal standpoint, which is fairly defined in the Kim Kardashian situation, but then there's also like the moral, ethical standpoint. So from like a legal standpoint, the mistake that Kim Kardashian made is she endorsed this token. She made it sound like she was holding when she wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
and that even goes into the moral gray area of it.
That
But I don't
deception.
remember all
Yeah.
the details. Maybe she just made it sound like it and she didn't directly say it. But again, that's we'll call it the moral gray area since I don't know those details. But
Yeah.
the legal standpoint is she needed to disclose that she was being paid, how much she was being paid, and this and that, and she didn't do that. So that's why she has a lawsuit. Now, like the moral standpoint is like, hey, this coin came to her for whatever, and I'm sure she had thousands of offers, but for whatever reason, this one made it in front of her and it caught her attention enough to where she was willing to talk about it. I don't see anything wrong with that as an influencer because social media has developed almost like the most up to date news source to where like
Yeah,
any person from
absolutely.
a me or you to a Kim Kardashian can give our spin of a current event or anything that's going on. So like I don't see anything wrong with talking about that, even supporting something like that and saying I like this idea. You might want to check it out, but I think I know where she messed up is not disclosing and then kind of misleading along the way. So there's definitely an ethical way to do it as a person that's doing it. But then the
There's got to be,
consumer,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's got to be
you
some
you
level of self responsibility.
you always have that self responsibility, in my opinion, to where like, okay, you bought something because Kim Kardashian told you about it. Like, what about Kim Kardashian made you think that she was an expert on this subject? Now, like, if she was falsely branding herself as a crypto expert, then I think we get into like bigger legal issues, bigger moral
Right,
dilemmas,
right.
this
That
and that.
there's some things there that like you can hold her accountable for certain things. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody in that position, you can hold them accountable. But it's like at some point, you got to turn around and ask yourself, why did I accept this person's statements as fact when I had no reason to believe No credible reason. And it's not like it required a lot of work. There was no credible reason to believe that Kim Kardashian had any good financial advice to give. There was no reason to believe that. She has no financial experience. I mean, we already know, and I mean this respectfully, her mom built the empire. Her mom
Yeah,
would
yeah,
probably be a better person to take financial advice from than her. And that's not an insult. Maybe Kim Kardashian is very wise with money, but we have no proven track record to believe that. So there's no reason for it to where we should, anybody who wanted to make a good decision should have seen right through it as just a very poor marketing technique. And that's all it should have ever been, was look at this kind of overstretched marketing
yeah,
campaign. And we should have all laughed at it and said, nice try, you missed, because she's clearly not someone who believes in Web3. She's clearly not someone who believes in that financial world either, right? DeFi and things like that.
yeah, yeah.
So it's still swing and a miss. And it should have been that obvious. It really should have been, because anybody who looks at it, right? Like, I don't necessarily think, the other stuff aside, right? Whether she was holding or not, it matters that she lied, but it doesn't matter in the context of individual responsibility and just literally
Yep.
looking in the mirror and saying, okay, just because I hold a bag of crap doesn't mean that the crap's valuable all of a sudden. Doesn't mean that it's a good investment. Now, sure, I shouldn't mislead you. She shouldn't have misled people. Absolutely. But geez, at the end of the day, come on, can't we hold up a mirror and be like, why on earth did I take financial advice from Kim Kardashian?
Yeah, and maybe that's really the second biggest problem, or ties into the first biggest problem on social media, is misinformation, and just the assumption that since this person has a platform for whatever reason, they're 100% right.
You ever feel like
And no,
people intentionally mislead themselves? Intentionally make themselves gullible? Because it kind of
totally.
feels like it. I mean, like, doesn't it kind of feel that? I mean, be honest with me, right? Doesn't it kind of feel like sometimes at one point we were like, oh, this is really hard to discern. It's very deceptive. Now we're mad at our neighbor who has no expert at all expressing their opinion, us believing it, and then getting mad that they expressed their opinion and it didn't work out the way we wanted. And it's like, did you do that on purpose to have an excuse to fail?
I mean, they always say it's easier to lie to somebody than convince them that they've been deceived. So like, I think that that even comes with some capacity of it, to where like people see something, they're like, yeah, I believe that makes sense, and then it's just easier to attach yourself to that. And then then it's their fault, not yours, right? Because you believed it, they said it, and so like, but at the end of the day, you didn't confirm that. You didn't do your research. You didn't
Exactly.
put two and two together. Like there's three or four different ways you can check out and see if, hey,
I
maybe
mean,
I
even
should
just a
take.
moderate amount of due diligence. Again and again, I'm not dogging on Kim Kardashian's intelligence. Maybe she's really smart with money. I don't know. But that's the
Yeah,
point, is that because I don't know, I'm going to do one of two things. Either do enough research to make a conclusive idea, or I'm just going to stay away from it, because I don't know if she is wise enough in finances to give me financial advice. So
yeah.
why the heck would I turn around, take advice from someone who is 100% risk in taking advice from, and then get mad when we turn, because I think it's again, she's wrong for misleading people that she held a bag in something or not, right? Absolutely wrong. But I think that's just someone's scapegoat from self accountability. I think that's just, they're not mad that she held it or didn't hold it,
Yeah, yeah.
because they wouldn't have cared if the coin was still valuable.
Yeah.
They'd still be fine with it, and they would be like, Kim Kardashian, who? They
Yep.
wouldn't care. They only care now because they're looking for someone to blame that isn't themselves.
We'll look at it from a real estate perspective. Imagine if Kim Kardashian said that, four family duplexes, that's the wave, and I've got this course with so and so that I partner with, and you'll probably make a lot of money if you take it. Would you automatically just buy that course, or would you look and be like, all right, how many four family duplexes does Kim Kardashian own? And is she in the
Right.
profit
And
on them?
and then also, just how are they performing? Maybe I
Yeah,
would, go to an expert in real estate and say, I saw this thing from Kim Kardashian. What do you think? Get a
yeah, yeah,
second opinion. Ask someone else who's in the industry. Like, especially when advertisements involved, like, And I think that's one of the few things that regulations have helped with, is that you have to properly disclose now that you're doing something as a paid promotion. I think that's fair, because that's information that we can't have access to. That's something we won't know. And it is very, very different when someone is paid to promote something and when someone organically believes in it. It's definitely different because motives are different. Once money gets involved, everything goes crazy. So, all right, moving on. So, who do you think is making social media better?
And there's a lot of good people that are making social media better. I think it comes down again niche by niche. Like in my niche, we come out and we do a morning show every single day where we educate people on crypto and investing in digital assets and how to profit off them. So like if that's what if that's how you use social media as your tool, I feel like that makes it better for you. Then there's people out there that they're the motivators, right? They're
Mm,
doing the motivational videos, they're dropping
yeah.
motivational statuses, and some people need that motivation just to kick it off and go through the day, and that truly makes it better for people. There's other people that they do the sales videos, right, and they make
Yeah.
it better. There's the mom videos, they make it better. Like there's people out there that everybody can relate to, and like it goes back to the beauty of being able to connect. So like you and I were able to connect, and we're not really across the country, but we're not in the same city. But I
We
think you
might as
even get
well be
these.
with how little I like to leave my house, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, same with me.
You might
It's
as
tough
well
to
be
get me out
over
of
in
my house.
China, bro. Like that's
Yeah, we might as well be across the country. Two dudes that don't like to leave their house, but we still get to connect, bounce ideas off each other, learn from each other, grow together. I think you see the same thing in groups, dad groups. You get
So let me
people that
ask you this, okay? So what I'm hearing is that you feel that there's good people at a kind of a more micro level, going in and influencing their spheres, which I would argue is where most impact really needs to come from, right? I believe in God. God always says, "Listen, just deal with the people around you and make their lives better,
yeah,
and you will, before you know it, you'll affect your state, your nation, the world. But it really starts with your family, yourself, your family, and then your community and stuff like that. I would agree with you there. But I have I'm a little curious your thoughts on this. Why do you think we don't have a champion for good in social media? So let me explain. Okay, we've got an Elon Musk who championed EV, right? Electric vehicles. Absolutely. He was, you can't think of electric vehicles before him. There was no face to electric vehicles. Now there is, and it's
yeah,
absolutely Tesla / Elon Musk. I would argue that he also did that for space, more commercialized space, right? With SpaceX. I think that we can look at um, people like Steve Jobs and see him as a champion for consumer based tech, right? Consumer friendly tech, right? Absolutely. That was the whole basis behind Apple, was just let's take really great tech but make it consumer friendly, right? Because at that point in time it was not. It was very tech friendly. It was based off tech. We see these champions for good. Now, it doesn't mean morally good. That's a whole different conversation. For good, in other words, improving what exists. Why do we not have, or if you disagree, tell me, why do we not have a champion in social media for good, but instead where it looks like every big guy at the top is a villain?
well, I'll disagree, but really add to what you're saying. I think it's Elon Musk. He probably is that person for good on Twitter, and depending on where you are on the spectrum, maybe you agree or disagree with that. But I think the fact that he's exposed a lot of things that were going on at the executive levels and in social media, as far as censorship and specific narratives that have been pushed, and then even like just the government asking to meddle with stuff that it gets in the gray areas of where does our freedom come into play. So I think that is a good aspect of social media, to where like one of the great things is that you can get that individual news update from the at the micro level, as long as it's not censored by the algorithm, or people that are managing the network taking it down and stuff. But Elon, it seems like he's trying to give us that space to where like, hey, you can do all your social media stuff on
So
X
here's
now.
what I mean. Okay, so I would agree with you half. Here's why. Just because someone exposes something doesn't mean they're trying to change the industry as a whole. I don't think Elon Musk is trying to change the standard of social media, because he's even talked about how X is not meant to be a social media platform long term. He's trying to make X into the all-in-one platform. Now, if you go back to some of his old interviews, he even talked about how PayPal was supposed to be that way, right? He wanted to create this more direct to consumer business model. And so I don't see him out there trying to really change social media, raise the bar, change the standards. What I see is him saying, hey, all that stuff you believed, it's true. I'm exposing it as true. But anybody can expose stuff. That doesn't necessarily mean make them a purveyor of changing an industry, a revolutionary. I haven't seen him do anything revolutionary in social media, right? I haven't seen him take the charge and say, we're changing social media forever. What I'm hearing is a lot of the crap that you believed about, in particular, like Twitter, is true, right? He doesn't really talk about Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. He really focuses predominantly, and again, disagree with me if you want to,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I think he predominantly focuses on Twitter, and he says
absolutely.
all this crap about Twitter was true. Okay, that's fine. But why isn't he going after Facebook then? Why isn't he going after TikTok? Why isn't he going after the others? Now, he talk in a vague sense, but all of us, everybody, every political figure, public figure, celebrity talks about the vague stuff that we all know already, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's not, I don't necessarily think that he's bad for social media. No, I don't believe that. I think he's showing some really good things by exposing it, but I would not call him a champion for changing social media. And you can contrast that to AI. He is out there advocating for all AI to meet criteria, regulations, right? He's not doing that for social media,
That's fair.
right? So that's what I mean is, where is that person? Why don't we have someone in that role? Why is it? Do you think it's just too big of a beast for anybody to want to try and step into?
I think it is, man, because it's so hard to tackle because yeah, you do want regulations, but then where do those regulations and impede on freedom and what type of restrictions, right? Like I think at this point in time, social media is so big that it's like a utility, like
Absolutely.
everybody
Yeah. Yeah. Like Google,
everybody
like the
needs
problems with
access to
Google.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really need access to it to stay competitive in the world and stay up to date. Otherwise, you're still a person that's reading the
Well,
newspaper and find
$270 billion was spent on online advertising by businesses last year. You're trying to tell me that if all of your competitors are spending equivalent of $270 billion and you can't even access it, right? How about jobs? I was at a really great physiotherapy the other day, and he said he's almost exclusively booked through Instagram.
that's
Like that
crazy.
is. So I mean, I'm agreeing with you. Like I used to be someone who was a little let's say naive, dense when it came to access to public goods, until I realized like I used to say, "Oh, a phone is a want." No, dude, a phone is absolutely a need.
Yeah, in today's
The
society.
applications, the I mean, a phone is your whole digital world wrapped in front of you. And when we live in a digital world, not having a key to that digital world is kind of a big deal. And your phone
Yeah,
is your vehicle to get there, and the internet is kind of your street, your bridge that
yeah.
carries you there. And then social media, in many ways, it is the different routes and the different streets that you can go on to access and navigate and connect in the digital world. You
So
know,
it's a funny stat you got me thinking about a little bit is how necessary how much of a digital world we live in and how involved in social media your everyday person is. So if you take all of the information that was written from when we can first find written records from that time all the way to the birth of Christ. So, but Jesus when Jesus was born,
yeah.
you could consider that a Jesus unit of information.
I love
So
that.
so it took like I want to say like thousands of years to get that Jesus unit information. Well, from Jesus unit to 200 years, you had another Jesus unit of information, and then after that, about every 100 years, it would double. Now, due to all the information being quote unquote written on social media, you're seeing it double about every 16 minutes. So what everything that was written for
Gosh.
2,000 years about up until the birth of Jesus, you're seeing that same amount of information double every 16 minutes. And then I think
Wow.
in like the next 10 years, it's gonna be about every minute based on how much social media is growing.
That's oh my gosh, it's hard to wrap your head around that. And then
Yeah, it's
like
crazy.
as these LLMs, large language models, just keep growing and growing. I mean, that's only going to be. I mean, they're just these massive collectors of information that we already had the ability to scrape the internet, but it was very very restricted. And now you have these large language models that can just, I mean, just consume everything. And then well, we won't get into that, a whole different conversation. All right, so listen, the basically, if I'm paraphrasing you right, you believe that one of the biggest problems in social media, kind of coupled with the second biggest problem in social media, is the lie. It's the lie that social media purveys, that it kind of supports. So what do you think will happen if we don't change that narrative?
Well, it's funny. It all kind of ties together with everything we've been talking about, even down to the Jesus unit, because I wasn't even thinking about it till right now. But I think the real problem is there's such an overflow of information that your average person is taking in, to where a lot of people are addicted to social media, and so like they kind of use that as their excuse for not researching, because they're always on to the next post, looking for that next dopamine hit of something new that piques their interest. So I think truly you're gonna get to a point to where people are gonna have to almost be re-educated to learn to think for themselves and step outside of the box, just because like there's so much information flowing in that they don't know what's
Yeah.
true and how to decipher it. And so it'll be weird, or maybe not even a re-education, but I think maybe like the next generations, maybe they will be the most super skeptical ones about social media, because they see it all play out fake their entire life, right? You see
So
the
let me
person in
understand,
line.
okay? So if we don't change the narrative that purveys lies, right? From gurus down to the everyday people, right? It's everyone, everyone. The if I'm understanding correctly, you believe that what that'll do is it'll force us to a place to where we have to almost cold turkey quit and reprogram our brains away from, I mean, the most prolific ability to tell lies ever.
I think that's on the right track, and it almost sounds like dystopian, so it's weird to talk about, right? But
But it is,
I
right? I mean, if you live in an entire world that is a lie, what is the Matrix? The Matrix is literally saying, well, what is social media? It's every day it's becoming less and less unclear what's real and what's not, right? What's real and what's not on social media. And to where every day you have to do one of two things. You have to question the Matrix. You have to ask the question, am I in a matrix? In other words, am I looking at a lie right now? Or you have to blindly accept assimilation, and you have to say, everything I see is reality. I have no proof, I have no facts, but I accept it as reality. Because once you're in between, it's a mess, right? Then you become Neo, who is like,
yeah,
I don't want to do this, man. I was happy where I was at. Things were good. Don't put me in the matrix. Don't wake me up. I one of my favorite lines is Loki, when he's standing with the scepter and he tells everyone to kneel. And he said, the great illusion of humanity is that they want to be free. No, they just want to
uh,
believe that they're free. But nobody actually wants to make the choices for the most part. Nobody
yeah,
wants to have self accountability, because that's what being free means. That means that it's all on you.
yeah,
Nobody wants it to be all on them. We want we want the SEC to go after Kim Kardashian to protect us from our own ignorance,
yeah.
our own willful ignorance, I should say.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
Crazy.
I think you're spot on, man. And and maybe what truly develops into social media, if it doesn't change, is that it's viewed as a strictly entertainment thing, right? To where like, yeah, if you're somebody that watches TikTok dance videos, you don't watch them because you're expecting anything for that person, or you don't know if they're a dance expert or whatever. You just watch it for entertainment, or sometimes you look at
Mm.
memes for the entertainment of it. And I think eventually it'll probably be like everybody will just assume that it's BS and it's
It's a
just
lie.
entertainment. Like
Which
you're watching so
sucks because listen, like then there will be no authentic connections. I don't go to the movies, see Brad Pitt on the screen and be like, man, Brad Pitt gets me. I'm connecting to him. I don't feel like I know Brad Pitt better, and I don't think Brad Pitt knows me better. And I think that really sucks because social media was supposed to do the exact opposite. It was supposed to give us a connection that we wouldn't otherwise have. It was supposed to bring us closer. And I agree with you. If we just keep going down this route, we all have to essentially have a social contract that says it's all a lie.
yeah.
And that sucks because then it's like, well, now where do I go for authentic connections?
It probably goes full circle. You'll see people hanging out in coffee shops off their phone again.
I mean, and you do see a level of desperation. You see even younger generations that will go to LinkedIn for better connections with people. What?
Yeah.
Tinder is having a tough time. Why? Because all of the relationships are fake. And so now people are like, what's the point of being on Tinder? I will never find an authentic connection there because it is a lie.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's crazy. All right, now let's play a game. Okay. I love to play this game. I think it's a lot of fun. All right. So hypothetically, okay, you are now the CEO of the biggest social media company in the world with all the power and influence you need, right? Okay. What would your social media kind of slogan or mission be? You know, what would you be? What would your platform be like? Man, they're known for this. What would you do? Could be fun, it
Yeah,
could be serious, doesn't matter.
so it would be hard to pull off, and you know, and the shareholders would never like it. So I'd have to buy the company and be the sole owner, or build it from the ground up. But I think a decentralized social media that rewards users and creators for participating in the ecosystem. So based on like groups you're in, this and that, the popularity of that group, you could earn reward points, tokens, whatever it is, right? And then your creators that are high level creators that are creating content that you specifically want to be a part of, you know, they could make some of it token gated for those reward points, those tokens, whatever they are, and then you can spend them on the
So
site.
it's almost
And then
like you would correct me if I'm wrong. So you have the again, we're assuming you have all right, all power, right? Obviously, you have to in these hypotheticals. So you would take the power that you have. Let's say you're Mark Zuckerberg right now, which for those who don't know, if you think anybody is as close to him, don't even. TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, all of them combined, Facebook still makes more money than them. Okay, so anybody who thinks that Mark Zuckerberg is not unbelievably powerful and in a league of his own when it comes to social media, he absolutely is. Even with how big TikTok is, it can't even touch the revenue, which is where the real power is. For those who don't know, there's plenty of famous people who can't do anything. Okay, but Mark Zuckerberg knows how to turn people into money. Okay. And that's
yep.
very powerful. Okay. So now that's what I'm saying. So you're Mark Zuckerberg. You've got this crazy company and a powerful company. And your suggestion is here's how I'm going to change social media. Here's my new mission. I'm going to decentralize it. And for those who don't understand, you want to just explain what you mean by decentralizing it?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it would be the community that truly owned it. Like maybe I would be a decision maker as a CEO on the direction of it, but that money that was made off the platform would be pushed back to the community via their participation. So based on them engaging with other people's content, them creating their own content, they would be rewarded off those advertising dollars and the millions or billions of dollars that was a Facebook level company it would make. And then obviously me at the top, I would be rewarded too, right? Because I
Yeah.
would be a user of this platform and probably one of the big users, right? If I was the owner, I'd probably have the biggest following, this and that. So when I needed to make money, I could just go post a video, you know,
Yeah.
and people are, whether you
You
like
would
Mark
level the
Zuckerberg,
playing field. You would essentially diminish your power and put you in essence on par as outside of, let's say, work that you would do as a CEO or anything like that. But I'm saying you would put yourself on par as anybody else that got on the platform is what it's sounding like.
yeah, yeah, but think about Mark Zuckerberg. He'd still be wealthy just because like his video, like you're gonna see it because it's Mark Zuckerberg. Everybody's gonna watch it. Like I'm not necessarily a Mark Zuckerberg fan, but when he drops a video and it comes to my newsfeed, I go watch it to see what he's got to
Yeah.
say because I'm on Facebook.
Yeah, you have
And
one
so
of the
like he
most
was,
popular congressional live streams ever, and
yeah,
it's like he's Mark Zuckerberg.
yeah. So it's like you'd still be wealthy as an owner. Maybe not like Mark Zuckerberg now wealthy, but you'd still be wealthy as an owner. But then everybody that's participating in this ecosystem and making it better, they'll make some too. And I think that really creates a conducive environment for healthy social media because people are gonna
Dang.
want to participate in authentic things because
That's a
like
bold
you're getting
move. Bold move, dude. I like it. All right. One last question. If I was to go look at, or anybody watching was to go look at your social media content right now, what is one word that you would use to describe it?
crypto.
I think that's pretty fair. I think that's pretty fair. Crypto, crypto.
Yeah, that's my thing on social media because these days that's where I'm trying to help other people, but then that's also where I'm trying to help myself because I'm trying to change my life off making money in the crypto space. So I put out a lot of crypto content to help other people, but then naturally it brings other crypto people to me, and I get to learn about stuff pretty early myself along the way. So yeah, that's how I use social media, and that's my one word.
Dude, I love it. And actually, you know what? I have to do a follow-up question because I think this is a very good subject. And we'll keep it short. But there's with so many gimmicks and scams and memes in crypto, is there a utility inside of crypto somewhere? And when I say crypto, I mean Web3, NFT, crypto, all of the stuff, blockchain, all the words that come with that. Is there somewhere in there that has a utility that could actually help change social media for good?
Absolutely. There's people trying to build something similar to what I've talked about as far as a decentralized social media. No one I've talked to yet, I feel like, has really nailed it. But what do I know, right? Somebody might have a better idea than what I'm thinking. But I haven't seen anybody nail it as far as idea wise. I've seen people struggle because Apple is very restrictive of what you can list on their platform, and that's a
Yeah.
major hurdle. There are class action lawsuits against them, no. So I think that
Many,
you could,
many, even
yeah.
from big dogs like Epic Games.
Oh, dang,
And
I didn't know that.
yeah,
That's
and
crazy.
they're after Google too, and there's others too. I mean, those guys. Anyway,
Yeah,
that's a different conversation.
no, for sure. We'll do more of these for sure. But the uh the thing with the decentralized protocols, there something is going to be built that's similar to what I'm talking about, and I truly think that that's the future of social media. And like you you kind of saw it with TikTok, right? Like it was the spot that the people that are like 18, 19 or right now, they were on it when they were 12, 13, and 14.
Yeah.
And so like one of these decentralized apps that gets built this next bull run, which is probably starting next year. We're gearing up to it in crypto. Something's going to get built there, and it's going to start attracting the 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds that are getting into Web3, and they're just going to spend the next few years on there, and it's naturally going to become that next TikTok or whatever is the next thing, right? Whatever it's called. And will it make it and become the big time player and be what I think it could be? Who knows, man? Outside
I think
forces
you
could
and I
still
need to
manipulate.
do an episode just around a decentralized social media platform
That'd
because
be fun.
it's such a, I think it's a very complex thing to navigate because it's like, okay, the more you decentralize it, the less you can protect people because
Yeah,
it puts more individual responsibility. It's harder to monetize. That doesn't mean bad. It doesn't mean that just because it's harder to monetize doesn't mean it isn't profitable and useful, which is also a stereotype that people need to understand. Just because something is harder to reach. In other words, YouTube leads in real estate are more expensive than Facebook leads. That doesn't mean that Facebook leads are better or worse. Doesn't mean that YouTube leads are better or worse. It depends on the metrics and what you're looking for. If you want higher intent leads, YouTube hands down wins. Well, guess what? They charge more for that. Does that mean they're worse? No. And some would argue that makes them better than Facebook leads, which are significantly cheaper. But I think a conversation around it would be a lot of fun. I think that'd be really enjoyable to just dive into what does a social media platform for the people.
Yeah.
What does that work with? I mean, I've got things in the works, but
No, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that and part of what we have in the works is bringing people into the conversation and saying, let's talk about this versus let's hand it to people that we have seen time and time again are unbelievably corrupt. Then we go to the government, which is unbelievably corrupt, and say, yeah, hold those corrupt guys accountable. It's like going to a criminal and saying, hey, I want you to hold other criminals accountable. And it's like, I don't think that's necessarily the smartest approach for change. I mean, arguably, right? I mean, it just doesn't make sense in my opinion, right? It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make
No,
sense.
it's got to be something different, and it's got to be like you said. It's got to be something that's hard, right? Because if it was easy, it already would have been done. It's just the reality of
One
it.
like I think TikTok is one of the best examples of the fact that as long as it's built by people who are just after money, it will always end up like crap. It will
Yep.
always go down the same thing. Facebook came along, and they took the model of MySpace. And for a while, MySpace wasn't actually trying to just squeeze money out of people. If you look up, and that's part of why they fell to Facebook,
Yeah,
is because
yeah,
then they tried to catch up to make money from people, and they released a bunch of bad products. But then you saw it, and Facebook came out, and Facebook was pretty good. It was very straightforward. It was this incredibly simple platform compared to MySpace, which was very, very cluttered at that time when Facebook
yeah.
started gaining prominence. Then guess what happens? Over time, Facebook just gets worse and worse and worse. So what do? We look for another alternative, right? Instagram, Snapchat. Well, now look at TikTok. TikTok blew up because what? They had a great algorithm that gave you really great content. I would agree with you. Hey, listen, if you're seeing girls dancing around in bikinis, it's because you're watching girls dance around in bikinis. Okay? And I would argue with that. But then now we're getting to a point to where TikTok's algorithm, they're dialing it back. And that's all it is a dial. They're dialing back the content you have proven you want to see. Because if you're watching
I will agree
organic,
because I have noticed that.
what?
I will agree because I have noticed that I don't get quite as much just
Well,
solely
it's
crypto
simple
content.
math, right? It's simple math. Okay. When someone does a Black Friday sale and they give you 80% off, do they give you 80% off every time? No. So what TikTok did is he said, we're new here. We're going to give you what you want. Okay. Your Black Friday sale. We're going to give you what you want. Okay. And then they're like, okay, it's no longer Black Friday. It's Cyber Monday. So we're giving you 70% off. Okay, now we're getting deeper. Okay, well, now we're giving you 60, 50, 40, 30. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're not giving you any discounts. And in fact, here's the TikTok shop where now, while you're watching something, you've got freaking this on your face of ads in your face saying, you see that eyeliner? No, I can't see the eyeliner because it's hidden behind the ad for the eyeliner. I can't see it anymore. I don't recognize the content. All I see is just everything is an ad now. Everything. And I think that's horrible because listen, I think this idea and is that we have to always make more money from everything is a really bad way to live life. Okay? It's horrible because the reality is, and this has been proven time and time again, if people love your product, they will buy your product and they will tell people about your product. If you have to force people to buy your product, you have a problem and they're not loyal fans, right? If I strap you to a chair and say, listen to my music, you're not going to walk away, even if you would like it. You're not going to walk away as a fan. You're going to likely walk away as someone who is annoyed, upset, or even a hater.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're seeing that more and more is that the deterioration of these platforms, it's horrible and they're all the same. Anybody who thinks any of them are different, just do a little bit of research. I promise you, maybe I'll do a special episode about like
No,
how,
we should maybe next week we should do that. That'd
dude,
be fun.
because there is no difference between YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. There's absolutely no difference. Just because something looks different does not mean it is different.
Yeah,
Right? All right, dude. Man, what a blast to talk about
that
this.
was
I
fun.
mean, it was fun. I mean, I always enjoy getting everybody's unique perspective, especially someone in Web3 who's very, very active in Web3. Um, just to hear how you use social media, what you like, what you dislike, and what you think would improve it. And I love the extremism because I think someone asked me the other day, how do we fix the fact that every single program in America is corrupt and bad?
Yeah,
Healthcare, insurance, schools, all of it. And literally, I said the answer is the worst answer ever, and nobody wants to admit, and that is we burn it all to the ground and we
yep,
start again. When
100%.
you're when 90% of your body is cancerous, you don't say, I'm just gonna cut out the cancer, right? No,
Hmm.
you have to be reborn.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is, you have to have a new body to be able to keep living, right? And that's where I think we're getting to at a point of social media is it's almost we're at this point where it's like we almost have to burn it all to the ground and build something. Hence the podcast, build something that resonates with our beliefs, not corporate beliefs.
yeah, yeah.
So thanks for being on the show, man. I had a great time.
Oh, this is
Always
fun.
enjoyed talking to you, brother.
Always, homie.